Hey, welcome back to another episode of Already Overbooked. My name's Josh, and today's episode is stacked. We're going to be talking about some amazing books. I'll be showing off a book binding that I did for my wife, and there's some channel changes that are happening. And so let's just jump in and talk about it. All right, let's jump in to channel and life updates. We're going to start out with the book binding. So I ended up going through and binding my wife's favorite book, which is Pride and Prejudice. And we had a copy of it. It was in the mass market paperback. It didn't look great. So I decided, hey, I'm going to try to fancy it up a little bit. So I went through and rebinded the book. So we have Pride and Prejudice. We got the side and the back. This was a lot of fun. This took me just a few days to go through and put together. And it was yeah, it was good. It's one of my best ones I've done so far, which I'm very happy about. I did go through and record me binding this together. So if you're interested in seeing the process, I have it in like a condensed 1 minute video. So if you're interested, let me know and I'll post it. If not, I'll just go through and just continue binding because this is a lot of fun. I have a blast. I don't know what book I'm going to do next, but it's going to be something different. Maybe a sci-fi book or a fantasy book. I don't know, but I want it to look super cool. So that should be fun. I also wanted to go through and give an update on the BBNYA. So I officially finished round one. And let me tell you, the books that I've been reading have been so good. They have been killers. And I am super hyped to see the rest of the story if they get pushed through to the next round. I did go through and talk with a few of you in the comments, I think, on my last time I spoke about this. And you asked questions on the setup of it. So I'm just going to give a quick rundown on how the first round was set up. So I ended up going through and receiving about 25 books from the genres that I selected. So at the beginning of it, you got to select, hey, here's the genres I like to read, here's genres I don't like to read. So of course I did books I talk about already on the channel. Sci-fi, fantasy, thriller, horror was the four that I went through and selected. So I received those 25 books, and it was just the first chapter of the book. You just read the first chapter, and then you go through and you rate it under four different categories. And then if they get selected, they have the most points among all the panelists. Then it gets moved to the next round, and we keep going until we're have a winner. So right now, I'm not supposed to talk about who I went through and read or what books I went through and read. So once we get them moved through the process a little bit more, we'll go through and talk about what I read or what I'm currently reading with it, and I can talk a little bit more about it. But if for some reason some of these amazing stories are not selected to go continue within the process, I'm 100% going to go through and read them and talk about them on the channel because the chapter ones of some of these books were amazing. And I'm super hyped to go through and continue with them once I can. So now I want to go through and talk with you about some of the channel changes that I mentioned at the beginning. I was going through and reviewing some metrics. And then I spoke with some of you in the comments as well. And it doesn't seem that the shorts I've been putting out, the one sentence reviews, are are liked or seems to be getting traction. So I completely get it. I completely get it. If you guys aren't liking it, I'm not going to go through and continue doing it. So as of this moment, I decided I'm going to stop doing shorts on the channel on a consistent basis. If I think of a crazy idea or want to go through and just do a random short, I'm still going to go through and do it, but I'm not going to have it on a consistent basis on the channel anymore, unless I think of a new idea that's not going to take up a bunch of time. All right, so let's jump into what I read last week. I ended up going through and reading four books. Two of them were finishing up books that I previously was reading the other months, and then these two newer ones are ones that I've actually started and ended this past week. So the first book that I went through and finished was Reborn by the great F. Paul Wilson. I constantly keep talking about F. Paul Wilson's Adversary Cycle. They're so well done. And this one is also another rock star, A-list, amazing story. It is so well done. And in this one is we follow a man who is searching for his family lineage, and he finds out that the town's recently deceased rich man left him his home and his fortune. And what comes next is a true F. Paul Wilson type of story. There's a little bit of supernatural, there is some horror, and there's some chaos. And I enjoyed every single moment of the book. So much fun. Cannot wait to continue the stories, and I am hyped to see how it all gets folded together into the very end. So I'm about halfway through all these books, so we'll see how I feel once I actually go through and finish it. The next book I ended up finally finishing, I know I've been reading this for far too long, is a buddy read of The Devils. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about this book because I am doing a live discussion on the Bearded Book Beast channel. And when we get that set up on the exact day, I'll let you guys know. And I will talk all about this book. Now, I understand why some people either really love this book or they really don't. And I'm leaning towards the I really don't love this book. It's normal Joe Abercrombie. It's written very well. He has great characters. I just didn't care that much about this book. It didn't have that stakes. It didn't have the humor to me. Didn't hit as well as his previous works. He always does humor, but this was felt like way over the top compared to his other books. So a little disappointed with this, but Joe Abercrombie's still one of my favorite authors ever. And sometimes books hit, sometimes they don't, and it is what it is. So maybe I will enjoy the next one more. The last two stories are both novella stories. The first one is Toll of the Magi by the great E.L. Montague. This book was so good. I was so impressed. Honestly, I wasn't expecting a lot with the novella, and this one knocked it out of the park. It was so well done. The writing style, the intensity, the story itself. E.L. Montague did not hold back on this gem. It was so well done and highly, highly recommend you going through and check out Toll of the Magi by E.L. Montague. The second book, or the last book I ended up going through and finishing, was Son of the Thunder God. Now, this was a good story. It didn't have anything groundbreaking or really different that you've seen in other stories. It felt the themes, the story itself, uh, the arcs, everything felt familiar in a new, different type of way, but still nothing groundbreaking that was just like, wow, it was a new way of going through and looking at some of these familiar tropes. Still a fun, palate cleansing read. It was well written, and I'm honestly quite excited to see what else would come down the pipeline within this world. All right, so let's jump into books that I am currently reading. Now, I just finished The Sons of the Thunder God probably 30 minutes before I started clicking record. So technically, I haven't started a new book yet, but there's two books that I do plan on starting tomorrow after the 4th of July's festivities. And that's going to be There Will Be Thousands by Alexander Robb and Alone Together by S.S. Fitzgerald. So I'm super excited to go through and jump into both of these books. I have very high expectations for both of them, and they should be a lot of fun. So let's jump in now to what did I buy, pre-order, or receive in a book mail this past week. Now, I didn't receive anything or pre-order anything, but I did go through and run to the bookstore and ended up buying 5 different books. So let's jump into what I got. The first one is a book that I have an ebook of, but I would love a physical copy, and that is Shadow of the Gods by the great and powerful John Gwynne. I read the first two books in the series. I did not read the third one, and I cannot recall why I didn't grab it and read it as soon as it came out. But it's been long enough, and I am excited to jump back into this world. So I'm going to start at book one and then continue going through each of those again and read them back to back. So I'm super excited to have a physical copy of this. So I'm going to go through and read this one and then jump into the rest of the series right after each other to get that most experience I can get with the full trilogy. The next book that I ended up going through and getting was book one and book two of A Land Fit for Heroes by Richard K. Morgan, and that is The Steel Remains and The Cold Command. So I've heard amazing thing about Richard Morgan and his writing style. I have not read any Richard Morgan, so I am super excited to jump into this world. I'm glad I was able to find book one and book two within this series, which is always a huge win. And I plan on probably getting to this sometime this year. So I'm excited to have these and jump in when I can. The last two books is also book one and book two of a series as well. And they are the Final Architecture series by the great Adrian Jarkowski. I'm a huge Adrian Jarkowski fan. I've enjoyed almost every single one of his stories that I went through and read, and I have not read this one yet. So super excited to jump into this epic space series. And we have Shards of Earth and Eyes of the Void. So I walked into the bookstore, and these were the first two books that I went through and saw. It was like a sign that I needed to spend money, and I went through and got both of these. So I'm very, very excited to jump into this world. If you've read the Final Architecture series by the great Adrian Jarkowski, let me know if I need to push this up on my TBR or not. But the graphics and the pictures on the front look crazy. So super excited to jump in whenever I have the opportunity, probably later on this year is what I'm thinking. All right, so those are the five books I ended up going through and getting. So let's jump into what is happening next week. So on Monday, I am going to be going through and reviewing The Depths of Vanath. I went through and talked about this book last week, and I truly loved this book. It was so much fun. I have so much to say about it, so look out for that video on Monday where I'm going to go through and talk about The Depths of Vanath. On Tuesday, I have an interview with the great Daniel Cross. So I'm very excited to go through and have Daniel on the channel. He went through and wrote some amazing stories. He's collaborated with some hard hitting A-list horror writers, and he also has had a few books become amazing movies as well. So we're going to be talking all the fun on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then on Friday, we're just going to have another weekly recap where we go through and talk about all nonsense that's happened between right now and next Friday. So let's jump into the Indie Author Spotlight. We're going to be spotlighting today someone that I've already mentioned on this video. Someone whose books was so impressive that I had to go through and talk about him again on this section of the video. And that is E.L. Montague. And I'm specifically talking about The Toll of the Magi. Again, this is such a great story, and I'm looking forward to jumping into the rest of E.L.'s works. And if you haven't, for some reason, gone through and read or listened to any of E.L.'s works, go through and do it. All of his books are listed on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free. Go through and read them. If you're a audiobook fan and would rather go through and listen to books, good news is all of his works are on Audible. You can go through and purchase those as well. If you like physical books, you can buy them on Amazon. So I'll have all the links to his books in the description below. Go through and check out his stories. I promise you, you are not going to be disappointed in how amazing this guy goes through and writes. And I'm excited to jump into the rest of his books very, very soon. All right, so let's go through and jump into our final section, BookTuber Spotlight. I recently did a buddy read with this amazing booktuber, and we had a discussion on Logan from Novel Insights channel earlier this week. I think it was on Tuesday. We went through and talked about Rising Sun by the great Michael Crichton. And when we were on going through and talking, we spoke for almost 3 hours, and I realized I never went through and ever have shouted this guy out on the channel, which I thought I did multiple times. And this is Brian. Brian is seriously one of the best readers on BookTube. This guy might not be the fastest. He might not go through and put out as many videos as other people, but his insights and knowledge and understanding of these books surpassed so many people, and myself included. He goes through and analyzes and deep dives into these books, and he goes through and remembers it all like a machine. The guy's a literal, if he told me he was a machine, I would go through and believe it. The guy's a beast. I am such a fan of his. He is always in putting out great videos. He puts videos not only about books, he puts videos out about his farm life, and he goes through and does amazing deep dive discussions on in people's comments. Brian is an awesome individual, and if for some reason you are not following him, you need to go through and at least check out his channel and listen to his amazing insights that he goes through and have. So go through. I have all of his information down in the description below. So I really do appreciate you stopping by. It has been a great week, and I'm looking forward to this upcoming one as well. So let me know down in the comments how your week has been going. Let me know if you have any fun plans for the 4th of July. If not, let me know what you're reading. I always like to know what people are reading because I want to go through and always add more to my never ending TBR. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. You know what to do. Till I see you in the next one.